Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture series on machine learning. In this lecture, we will talk about essential terminology of machine learning. We are going to learn about the terms AI, data, dataset, features and labels, algorithm, training, model, testing and prediction. So these 9 terms we are going to study in this lecture. So let's get started. First we will talk about AI term. AI stands for artificial intelligence. We as human have something called natural intelligence, right? Our brain helps us learn, identify patterns, understand situations, solve problems and make decisions. We can learn from experience and understand different situations on our own. And now when we design machines or computer system that can perform tasks that normally require human like intelligence, such as learning, recognizing patterns, solving problems, and make decisions, we call it artificial intelligence. Now, let's look at the technical definition of AI. AI is artificial intelligence is a technology that enables computers and machines to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, and this task can include learning, identifying patterns, solving problems, understanding information and making decisions. So we use many AI applications and AI tools in our daily lives, right? One very common example is a chatbot. So when we ask a question to a chatbot, it gives us an answer. For example, suppose we ask, what is the weather today? The system may tell us it is sunny and 28 degrees Celsius today, right? But how does the machine know this? Let's understand it this way. If we ask a human being about today's weather, then they can observe the weather around them and give us an answer, and based on their experiences, right? But how can a machine answer this question? So the machine can use AI to understand and respond to our question. So however, for current information such as today's weather, it is also needs access to up to date weather data as well. So there are different ways we will learn gradually. So AI helps the system understand the question and provide a useful response, while the current weather information comes from a reliable data source, right? So this is the example of AI. Let's take another example, face recognition. When we use face recognition to unlock our phone, how does the phone know whether it is our face? Hmm? So every person's face has different characteristics and patterns. A face recognition system can learn useful facial features from images and create a representation of a person's face. So when we try to unlock the phone, the system analyzes the new face and compares its learned representation, which is already with it, right? So with the enrolled face, and if the patterns match sufficiently, the phone recognizes the person and unlock the phone. So this is another example of AI. So, overall, what is AI? When computer systems are designed to perform tasks that normally require human like intelligence, such as learning, recognizing patterns, solving problems, and making decisions, we call it artificial intelligence. Now, let's talk about our next term, that is data. So, what is data? First, we will look at the technical definition that says data is a collection of facts, values, or observations that can be used by a machine learning system to learn patterns and make predictions. Let's understand this with an example. Suppose I ask you to predict the price of a particular house. So, what information would you need? You may ask me, what is the size of the house, how many floors does it have, how many bedrooms are there, how old is the house, right? Where is the house located? So you may ask many such questions before making a prediction, and all these raw facts and values collected about the house are called the data. And when these data points are organized and interpreted, they can provide useful information, and this information will go to the machine learning model, and then it will predict the output. Now let's say we can give this data to a machine learning model. So as a data, we have the size of the house, bedroom, location, and price data. All this data we have, and this data we give. So if you observe, this data is in a proper format, right? This is data collection of information, and this data we give to machine learning model. And then when we give new house details to the model, it will give us a predicted price, that this can be the price of this particular house. So this is the actual flow. Like first we provide data, that is a collection of information to the model, and after training this model with the data, we give completely new information, and then based on the collection of information it has, it will predict the output. So this is all about the data. Now let's move to our next term, that is data set. So what is data set? Simple definition is, a data set is an organized collection of related data. We already understand that what data is, right? Suppose we collect information about many house for house price prediction. We may have information such as house size, bedroom location, house age, and price. So instead of keeping all this information as a separate raw facts, we organize it in a structured format, usually in rows and columns. So this organized collection of data is called a data set. In simple words, we can say a data set is an organized collection or a table of data. So for machine learning, we usually divide the data set into different parts such as training and testing data. So the training data is used to train the model, while the test data is kept separate and used later to check how well the trained model performs on unseen data. And remember, good quality relevant data and representative data generally helps a machine learning model perform better. So this is normally when we use data set for the training, testing, and the evaluation. And finally we give new information, new data to the machine, and it will uh, we will give this data to the trained model. That model will find the patterns from the data set, and it will predict the price of the house. So this is about the data set. Now let's understand the next terms, features and labels. A technical definition of a feature is, a feature is an input variable or characteristic of the data that a machine learning model uses to learn patterns and make predictions. Let's continue with our house price example. Suppose our dataset contains information about many houses, and we have house size, number of bedrooms, location, age of the house, and the price. So the first four are characteristics that we give to the model, this in a blue color, and these are called the features. But what about the price? right? So in this example, the price is what we want the model to predict, right? So the actual price that is already available in our training data is called the label, or a target, or a output. So during training, the model sees features along with their known labels and learns the relationship between them. So later, when we give the model a new house, it will predict based on the features. So in this case, features in as a features, we have given size, bedroom, location, and the age of the house. So these features, machine learning model see the relationship between this features, like if house size is this, and if it has two bedrooms, and if it is located in Delhi, and it is 5 years old, then its price could be 85 lakhs, right? So based on this relationship, it predicts the output, but it is already given, right? So what happens when we give this data to the machine, means if we give the new data to the machine, it predicts based on this combination. So just one thing to remember, that is features are nothing but the input, and label means target or the correct output which we provide to the machine. Now we will talk about all five terms together: algorithm, training, model, testing, and prediction. So, here is the entire information about all these five terms. Let's start with the term algorithm. An algorithm is basically a step by step method or a procedure used to solve a problem or learn patterns from the data. In machine learning, we have different algorithms that can be used for different types of problem. For example, you can see here linear regression is given. So just like linear regression, there are various other algorithms are available, like support vector machine, decision tree, random forest. These are different machine learning algorithm, and the choice of algorithm depends on the problem and the type of application we are working on. After selecting an algorithm, the next step is training. So, training is the process in which the machine learning algorithm learns from the training data. Now we know what is the meaning of data, what is the meaning of training data, right? And in supervised learning problem, the training data contains both features and known labels. We have already studied about the supervised learning in our previous video, right? So, for example, in our house price prediction problem, the training data may contain house size, bedroom, number of bedrooms, location, and age of house, and uh, actual price. So the algorithm looks at these examples and learns the relationship between the features and the price. For example, it may learn that certain combination of size, bedrooms, location, and age are generally associated with certain price ranges. So, this learning process is called a training. After training, we get a trained model. So, what is a model? In simple words, a model is the result of training an algorithm on data. So, first we pick the algorithm, then we give training data to the algorithm, we train it, and after that, we can say we have a trained model, right? So, after learning from the training data, the resulting trained system is our machine learning model, and we can then use this trained model to work with new data. Now, coming testing. So, testing means checking how well our trained model performs on unseen data, which is not in its training data set. So, remember, we should not test the model using the same data that is used for training, right? So, instead, we keep some data separate as a test data. So for example, suppose we have details of house that the model has never seen during training. We give its features to the trained model and ask it to predict the price. And then we can compare the predicted price with the actual price available in the test data. And this helps us understand how well the model is performing. So it is about testing, and our last term, that is prediction. So finally we have term prediction. Prediction means using the trained model to estimate an output for a new case. For example, suppose we give the model the following information about a new house: house size, number of bedrooms, location, and age. The model uses what it learned during training and give us give us an estimated house price, right? So this we give as a training data. Then how does it work? We pick the algorithm, then we train the algorithm, we got our final trained model, and then we tested it with few data just to check its performance. And then we gave the new data to the model to, and the output that we get, that is called the prediction. So the prediction may not always be 100% correct, right? We can use different evaluation measures to check how well the model performs. We will discuss those measures in another video. Okay, so this is how actually uh, entire process goes. First we have training data, then algorithm, training, model, testing, and the prediction. So you can connect everything with our house price prediction example. First we have a data set containing information about many houses. The data set may contain different features. Then first four are our features and the actual price is our label, right? So we take the training portion of the data set and select the algorithm such as linear regression or any other example, and we use the training data to train the algorithm. And after training we have a trained model. Now we can give the model unseen test data to check how well it performs, and the model gives us a predicted price, right? So we can compare that predictions with the actual price in the test data and evaluate its performance. And finally, when we have a completely new house, we can give its features to the trained model, and the model can predict its price, right? So the complete flow is like this. How to easy way to remember, if you want to remember these five terms: so algorithm is the method, training is the learning process for the algorithm, of course, model is what the algorithm learns or produce after training, testing is how we check whether the model performs well on unseen data, and prediction means using the trained model for a new case. So these are five terms: algorithm, training, model, testing, and prediction. So today we learn all these important machine learning terms. We discussed AI, data, dataset, features, labels, algorithm, training, model, testing, and prediction. I hope all these terms are now easy to understand, and that you have clear basic idea of how they are actually connected with each other. Okay. Okay, so see you in the next video. Till then, bye bye. Take care.